What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on? So, welcome to the show. Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. Fridays, everything else. Movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from bleepingcomputer.com, written by Sergey Gatlin. And the title of this one is Biden Signs Executive Order to Bolster National Security, right? So we've with this administration, which by the time you hear this, it will be the outgoing administration, right? They'll have already been replaced. But this administration has done a lot when it comes to executive orders and putting money behind cybersecurity, and they're doubling down on that. I don't want to say doubling down, but they're continuing down that road right up to the very end, right? As President Biden is leaving office. But what he did was he did an executive order that expands on Executive Order 13694, right? And that was issued back in April 2015 by President Obama, right? And what that did was that authorized sanctions on entities and individuals responsible for or complicit in cyber attacks that result in a have it in quotes here, significant threat to the national security, foreign policy, or economic health or financial stability of the United States, right? So this is one of those things where it's far reaching, right? Like they could use that to say, hey, you were complicit because you did something very small in this, right? But they're gonna go after you, right? Which I'm not, in all honesty, it's like I've heard people talk about, oh, well, they were just the getaway driver and something. It's like, look, they knew the risk, right? They knew what they were getting into, right? It's not like in the movies where your friends just jump in the car with masks on and are like, go, go, go. Like you knew what you were doing, right? Like they're not doing that to you. So if you're complicit in this, you're running the risk of being punished for it, right? So this addresses some major cybersecurity issues, right? To include, but not all inclusive, improving cybersecurity against cyber attacks that disrupt the delivery of critical services, right? We talked about that before with was it 16 pillars or whatever it was they had in the previous executive order? I think it was 16 pillars. Same type of thing. It delves into critical services for that. Improving security integrity of software used by the federal government, definitely needed, right? Like there are sometimes the stuff is being used that's just not up to par. Accepting digital identity documents to combat cybercrime and fraud. That's one that's getting hot and heavy right now when it comes to digital identity documents, just because of the way of the world, right? And how easy it is to forge. But again, there's several things that they list on here, but the ultimate goal is to make it harder for your Chinas and your Russias and your North Koreas and your Irans to be successful when it comes to the cybersecurity arena, right? Because that's where these wars are going to be fought in the future. You know what I'm saying? But Chris, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is an outstanding executive order, at least at a very high level, right? To get senior leaders within the government to understand, hey, look, we may be getting more budgetary allocations towards cybersecurity, right? Based on this. So however all that works, I'm very excited to see this trickle down into one, federal government, and then two, into, private sector when we're talking, all the stuff going on with CMMC, right? FedRAMP and all these initiatives, state ramp even, right? Like all these initiatives to help secure commercial off-the-shelf items and programs, software solutions, SaaS solutions, PaaS, IaaS solutions to the government, right? One thing that really stood out to me this year is he mentioned a bullet point, promoting security with and in artificial intelligence, right? So utilizing artificial intelligence to work smartly for one's own systems or internally within the federal government. Again, artificial intelligence is very new, so we don't know, at least most engineers, and I don't want to talk for all engineers, but at a high level, right? When artificial intelligence is installed within a network or within an environment, people are scared, so they don't know what data it can ingest, right? What it looks at, that's from that level. So again, whatever comes out with this, whatever private public partnerships come out of the artificial intelligence initiatives within the government, how are they segment that through all the program management offices throughout all the DoD, DOS, right? It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. I've always thought like, oh, look, because from us at the consumer level, what do we see AI in? We see it integrated into our, social media now. You got on Meta, you've got AI on your chat, you've got AI in your
phones,
on Word.
Right? Yeah.
You got AI pretty much like bolted onto pretty much anything now. To one from the, company perspective, they want to present themselves as a new and they're on trend for investors and all that stuff. That said, from a security standpoint, what that means to the government is different, right? They need to ensure that AI is secure. But what's cool is that they're going to use it with security. So, obviously there are technologies like SOAR, security, right, and SIEM, things like that have automated responses to incidents. But it's cool to see how government will implement them. It should be an exciting time for investment in that. And I'm curious to see how all that, plays, especially within the last point, aligning federal agencies' investments and priorities to improve security controls. So you already got those NIST 853 controls, right? How are they going to improve upon those? It's cool to see. So, Brian, what do you think?
Definitely. So I just want to take it back to the analogy that Shannon used, which I believe was perfect. Like the getaway driver, because a lot of people I don't think understand that what being complicit means. So if you are the getaway driver and your friends decide to shoot the bank up, you're going to be charged with murder as well, and you didn't pull the trigger. So I think in the grander ramifications of that, I hope to see sanctions on nations that harbor these hackers, or these hackers in some way are associated with your Russias, your North Koreas, your Irans, and Syrias. Because it's really hard to A, point the finger at these countries, and B, to actually get them to either extradite or to imprison their citizens who are doing these nefarious things off of our shores, where we can't reach them. So we need you to reach them. So how do we do that? Through sanctions, right? Like give up, these bad actors that are attacking our banks and our schools and our hospitals and things of that nature, or else will hurt your pockets in some way. So it's good to have teeth in this regard. So I'm glad to see that. And then, like you're saying, just the ramifications of adding AI into the Department of Defense and state and what have you, because it's coming. Like regardless of what we feel or how we're trying to get ahead of it, like AI integration is coming to everything, because a lot of these departments use Microsoft tools, they use Google and things of that other nature, and all of these companies, these big companies, tech companies, have already integrated AI into their products. They're not going to strip it out just for the use of the government. That used to be the case. Like when we're young sailors and airmen and things of that nature, you would get a different version of these products, but that doesn't happen anymore. Like they've willed their influence over the government. Like I can't sit here and create a window specifically for you, Department of Defense, and then vet it, test it, things of that nature, unless you pay me an extraordinary amount of money to do so, and to beta test per specific departments within departments, right? Because that's how, like when we were at the Network Operations Center, me and Shannon, that was an entire office would have to test it, like, okay, how's it going to affect this command? How's it going to affect these specific users? That's both slow and expensive. So since then, I'm not privy to it because I'm not there anymore, but I feel as though they have changed the way they do business. But go ahead, Shannon.
So, and here's the thing, right? So like you're alluding to, right? Like that stuff was all done in house. I think the way that they make this a success, right? Because they talk about it in the article, right? Like even the previous executive orders that were signed, like what they're doing is they're providing law enforcement more real-time access to information necessary to conduct investigations, right? You're not necessarily going to do that with people that work with those organizations. You're going to have to hire a third party, and it is going to be expensive, right? Like you're going to more than likely end up hiring people. And I'm not saying necessarily has to be, like if it's the military, like military folks have other obligations, right? You need to be fit to fight. You have appointments, you have things of this nature. So that's why they hire on the contractors, right? Like this is all we are paying you for, is to do these things. It leaves them, it makes them available to just do those things, right? Without worrying about the PT test, the dental appointments, all that other stuff, right? So it's going to be costly. Duties. It's not cheap. Yeah, the additional duties that are also required. So it's not going to be cheap, and they're definitely going to have to hire out a third party to make this a reality and to make it, what am I trying to say? Not usable, but actionable, to make it actionable.
Right. No, I agree, and it will be interesting, right? Like I'm no longer in Department of Defense, so I go by the articles that are released, where you see the Air Force now has AI within NIPRNet and things of that nature. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they utilize that and protect it, and who they have to hire to make it happen, right? Because AI is going to cause a job boom for people who understand how to utilize it and things of that nature, and it's going to cause shrinkage in other departments where you've been replaced by artificial intelligence in some regard. Like we don't need you to do X, Y, and Z because we have a program that does that. So it's going to be interesting to see the shift in both business and just work in general, because there's a lot of people who claim to not be computer literate, and they are, right? They have smartphones in their pockets, things of that nature. They just don't necessarily have the what's the word I'm looking for? Where they believe in themselves. They don't necessarily feel as though
The
they
confidence, the
yeah, they don't
confidence.
have the confidence
Yeah.
in their ability to use tech, but they use tech every day. And those people are gonna have to start stepping up, or they're gonna start being pushed out into other jobs. So it's gonna be interesting to see how all that shapes out. But continue to tune in. So hit us up on the website and go by our name. Hit us up on most of the social medias, the other side of the firewall, the other side of FW, or Ask a CISSP. You can be a person. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on pretty much all the platforms, but LinkedIn is my bread and butter. And where can they find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon, last name spelled A Bacon.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.